The brisk morning air burns Moira McTaggart's nostrils as she catches her breath from her daily jog. She smiles at the serenity that surrounds her, taking in the nature of the northwest highlands of Scotland. That momentary peace is disturbed by a growl and the flash of something out of her peripheral. Startled, Moira follows the blur over the next hill. There, she spots an injured lupine form tumble face first into the dirt. Her instincts tell her to stay away from the wolf, but she resists that urge as she witnesses the impossible.
Oh my word!
The wolf shapeshifts with a combination of anguished animal and woman cries. The wolf's fur shrinks as her spine and legs lengthen with sounds of bone and flesh snapping and stretching, then mending into the form of a naked, teenaged girl.
My lady! Help me! Dinna worry, lass, I'm a doctor. She's been shot. Nothing fatal, thank the heavens, but I'll need to get her somewhere safe to treat her. She's around 14 years old. Could be a mutant.
Moira removes her hooded sweater and wraps it around the young girl, then hefts her body over her shoulder. She's about to carry her away when an angry mob of 7 men with rifles and torches block her path.
That's the witch! Stand aside, Doc. We just want the girl.
This is King Cross land, Craig. You be trespassing. State your business.
Renee Sinclair is possessed. The devil speaks through her.
You're daft, old man.
Mock me if you will, Dr. McTaggart. This may be your land, but our intent is to save the child's soul and to drive the demons from her.
With a bullet? Oh, what brave, noble men are ye to threaten a child. She's under my protection now. If you want Rain's life, then you'll have to go through me.
We're not butchers, lady, but you've seen what she is. She's a werewolf. She needs to be cleansed. You'd be a fool to take her in before she has been.
I'll take my chances.
The man scoffs and dismisses her in disbelief. As he and his mob depart, he turns to face her one last time.
It's your funeral, lass.
Moira shrugs and carries the girl in the opposite direction, getting more of a workout than she anticipated this morning.
That was close. After I tend to her wound, I need to take her somewhere safe. Charles will know what to do. He's the only one capable of helping her.
A world away in another hemisphere, the scene shifts to a football game in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The championship match between rival high schools has the crowd on the edge of their seats. A young blonde teenager sits with her boyfriend's father as they cheer the star player on their team.
Look at him go, Juliana. That footwork. He's an artist.
Go back to go!
On the field, Roberto da Costa does not hear their individual cheers as the cacophony of fans is drowned out by his focus on the ball. His footwork is precise, weaving around and penetrating the defensive lines. He's an unstoppable force. That is, until he's hit by a wall of momentum. 2 opposing players slam into him like a pinball being tossed around on an arcade machine, and he goes down face first.
We've had enough of you, half-breed.
The illegal contact was a careful maneuver, unseen in the stands as anything out of the ordinary occasional collision. Roberto rolls to his feet angrily as the ball is stolen by the other. His outrage that the referee didn't call a foul springs him into action.
Killer!
Roberto charges with all his might and tackles his opponent as if it were an American football game. The boys go down hard, but both are back on their feet as the other players on the field turn to see the fight escalate.
I was hoping you'd pull a stunt like this, Da Costa. I may get thrown out of the game, but at least I can beat you to a pulp first.
What's your problem?
Your father should have kept your family up north with the rest of the Moreno. You've no right to be here.
Roberto struggles to combat his attacker, but can only defend himself against the brutal hits. Each fist thrown turns his ebony skin even darker. It's an unnatural darkness that becomes more akin to a shadow. Keller is the first to see this up close, as spots float before his eyes in an aura.
Hey, what the f***?
The shadow beneath him barely twitches, yet his arms move with a force that hurls the other boy downfield and into the goal net some 30 yards away.
What's happening to me? What did I do? I feel strange. Burning up. Like I'm on fire.
Everyone, get away from him! Run!
Wait. Jaime! Dominique! I don't know what's happening! Help me! Bye! Juliana! Somebody help!
His cries for help are ignored by his friends and the fans. Even his father is frozen in place at the vision his son has become. Only one person reacts to his aid. Juliana manages to push her way down onto the field and rush to the boy's side.
Get away, Juliana! I don't want to hurt you!
The dark shadow is replaced by his normal features as he collapses, her cradling him in her arms.
You could never hurt me, Berto. Don't worry, I've got you. Whatever this is, we'll face it together. Everything is going to be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. Somebody, call a doctor. His skin is ice cold. Help him.
Approximately 5,000 miles to the north, in Cameron County, Kentucky, deep mines sink straight down into the earth. It's a hard land, and even harder life, but it nurtures an equally tough breed of men who start young and grow up fast. One such is Sam Guthrie, a 16-year-old beginning his first shift at Dutton Consolidated Coal Mining. Foreman Lewis has taken a liking to the boy already.
Sam, heard about your pa passing on from the black lung. I just wanted to offer my sympathies.
Thanks, Mr. Lewis. That's kind of you.
Everything okay with your mama?
She's coping, sir. Best she can. We all are. Pa had a pension, but with the inflation and all, it don't come close to paying the bills, and I was too proud to go on welfare.
I'm a bit surprised to see you here, boy. I thought you'd have some scholarship or something. Remember your daddy saying how proud he was to know his son was going to college.
I can't leave here knowing my family hasn't got food to eat. I'm man of the house now. It's my job to provide for my mom and the little ones. My pa's dream is still good, though. Maybe it won't come true for me. But will for one of my brothers and sisters. I'll see to that.
Sam spends most of his shift getting acquainted with the men and machines. He learns the basics of the job he knows has just become his life's work. As the day wears on, he begins to resent his father for offering a dream of something better, only to snatch it away from Sam as it was about to come true. It's with these tangled emotions that also comes a sense of shame for feeling this way. And then, without warning...
Cave in! Everybody get out!
Panicked workers rush to evacuate. All that is, except Sam.
Mr. Lewis is trapped! But no. Save yourself, boy. It's too late for him.
The hell it is!
A support beam has collapsed across the foreman's body, trapping him beneath its weight. The foreman sees the boy approaching and waves him away.
Get out of here, Sam. I'm done for.
Yeah, that's what they said too. I'm not leaving here without you.
You're Tom Guthrie's son, all right. Crazy son of a bitch who don't listen. Spitting image with more guts than brains.
Can you move your legs? If we shift this timber...
It's too late. The ceiling's coming down.
Fear turns Sam's soul to ice. Adrenaline surges through his bloodstream like molten fire. His eyes glow. Raw energy surrounds him, building in intensity, until... Sam's legs explode with a force so powerful it propels him and the foreman through solid rock and into the open air above. Their bodies come crashing down into the foliage outside as both men lay stunned. Foreman Lewis rolls out of Sam's arms and attempts to catch his breath.
Holy hell, I'm alive. It's a miracle.
It was me. Somehow it was me. My legs, they hurled us up like a cannonball, yet I'm unharmed. Even my clothes barely singed. How did I do that?
Sam looks to the skies, as if expecting an answer from above. Unbeknownst to him, a well-dressed man watches the events. He steeples his fingers and glances at the various monitors in front of him. The view on one is of a football game in Brazil. The second is of a woman changing form into a wolf in Scotland. And finally, the third is of Sam's mining accident. His custom-built, invisibly cloaked drones feeding him images on a live feed.
Another one much closer to home. Excellent.
How did you find these mutants, Donald?
Before her demise, Emma helped us copy Xavier's Cerebro device, even improve it. She's gone, but she left the locations of several inactive mutants she picked up across the globe. I've been monitoring those she thought were the closest to emerging.
But now these 3 are active. Xavier is sure to pick them up as well.
Indeed, I must act fast. I will begin with Mr. Guthrie. A power such as his could prove useful. And then, when I'm through with him, he can follow young DeCosta and Miss Sinclair into the grave.
The Medicine Bow Mountains, near the town of Sundance, Colorado. A young Native American Indian woman sits in silent harmony with the world as another dawn approaches. She treasures these idyllic interludes when she is at peace with herself and truly happy. Her secret terror is that, as of late, those moments of reprieve are becoming increasingly rare. Her acute senses detect a welcome visitor, a wild bobcat that frequents the same place. Her hand reaches out gently, which the animal welcomes, and the two embrace the way an owner would with their house cat. The feline's thoughts are pure. He has fed. He is with the human he adores. His feelings match her own content.
Hello, Ridge Runner. How are you, fuzzy old thing? Yes, I'm glad to see you too.
Their momentary bond is disturbed by a silent intruder. Both sense him immediately, and the cat dashes off into the foliage.
Ridge Runner, stay! It's just Black Eagle.
The girl leaps up and rushes to wrap her arms around the elderly man.
Grandfather!
You look well, child. Come with me, Moonstar. We must talk.
You sound so serious. Is anything wrong?
It is time for you to leave these mountains. I have summoned a man, a teacher. You will go with him to learn how best to use these gifts given to you by the Great Spirit, your powers of the mind.
Why can't you teach me? Why do I have to go away?
I am an old man, and my knowledge and skill are nothing compared to his. He lives in New York. His name is Charles Xavier.
Danielle Moonstar's outrage is apparent in the few feet distance she suddenly puts between them.
A what? You would send me to an Anglo! No. I won't do it. I won't go.
Her rage provides her sudden, unexpected strength. It catches Black Eagle by surprise, and for a moment his psychic defenses falter. His world fades from existence, only to be replaced by thick, viscous clouds of black smoke and flame. Trees and land that has been provided by the Great Spirit to his family for countless generations burns in a devastating inferno. It closes in on him, and he cannot even hear his own screams of pain as his body is consumed. Blisters form across his flesh as his skin burns and chars. The intense heat causes him to choke on the fumes. Then, as quickly as the nightmare began, it ends. It was an illusion so real that he is left out of breath, even though all has returned to the way it was. Moonstar holds him steady and cries.
I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. I summoned the dream shapes without thinking. It's just as it was at home and in town before I fled to the mountains. I I couldn't help myself. I don't know how I do this or how to stop.
Which is why you need Xavier.
He's an enemy. All whites are enemies.
No! He was your father's best friend. He was his blood brother. He is family child. And you will respect him as you would me or your father, were he alive.
Do I have to?
You have much to learn. Yes.
Then I will go.
That night is one that the girl will never forget. Her unrest borders between reality and the dreamscapes, but a sudden noise and feeling of dread wakes her from this restlessness. She glances out into the distant darkness to see a silhouette backlit by an orange glow. It is like a splash of cold water waking her as she realizes who and what that silhouette is. Her grandfather lays in the grass, his eyes staring lifeless up at the stars, as smoke still rises from his charred remains. The smell of gasoline permeates her nostrils. This was no accident.
No! No! Damn you! You saw this in your dreams, didn't you? It's the image I drew from your thoughts and turned it into the vision of horror. Someone did this. I will make them pay for your life. I will have vengeance!
Elsewhere, the well-dressed man observes through his monitors.
How touching. It stirs the heart to see such noble savages. When Xavier responds to that summons, when he reaches the Rockies alone without his X-Men to protect him, I'll strike. He and the girl will be slaughtered together.
You're mad, Pierce.
To his left sits the woman who has observed him for the past few hours, her hands and legs bound to a chair and forced to watch his plans come to fruition.
Well, if I am, my dear Tessa, doesn't that put you in a most awkward and precarious position?
The Hellfire Club won't let you get away with this.
By the time they discover all my plans, it will be too late. The club, its wealth, its power will all be mine. Your beloved boss Sebastian Shaw and the rest of his muty clique will be no more than a memory. Along with the X-Men.
Not far from Pierce's hideout is Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Here, under the tutelage of the professor, mutants are taught how to cope with who and what they are. The school has been less occupied as of late, but the presence of Moira McTaggart and Rana Sinclair has kept Charles distracted for the past week. Rana still isn't sure if this is the most amazing thing that has ever happened to her, or the most terrible. Their current focus, however, is on Shan Khoi Man, a Vietnamese woman, also known as Karma.
Don't be nervous, Shan. The examination is almost over.
What have you learned, Professor?
Well, to be honest, I have never seen readings like yours. Your psionic abilities in their own way rival my own. I would very much like to see a demonstration.
Must I? When I possess someone, I become them. Gradually, I become aware of their memories, their feelings. I begin to think and behave like them. It goes against all I was taught and believe in.
If you'd rather not.
I would rather be normal, without any powers. But since I am cursed with this talent, I must learn to control it, lest it someday control me.
If you need a guinea pig, I'm all game.
You are very brave, Dr. McTaggart. But if you insist, there will be some initial discomfort.
Shan focuses her mind on Moira's, and they become two separate bodies, sharing one soul.
That will soon pass. Is this satisfactory, Professor?
Look at her eyes and voice. Both of them speak as through one, yet separately.
My own body is capable of independent action, although it is greatly weakened, but my control over the host body is absolute.
What have you done to Lady Moira? Leave her alone!
Rana Sinclair's emotions get the best of her as her body alters its appearance. This time, not fully a wolf, but a hybrid, humanoid, lupine form.
Rain, I mean no harm, Professor!
Rain, stop this! Return to human form at once!
I'm sorry. I was afraid. I reacted and saw a threat.
I'm releasing my hold on the doctor.
How do you feel, Moira?
Oh, a little muzzy-headed, but otherwise fine. Why? What did I miss?
You don't remember? Fascinating. My scans indicate a complete cessation of your higher brain functions. During the period when Shan possessed you, you in effect ceased to exist.
Lovely. Well, how about some lunch? Now that I'm composed again, I'm famished. Rain? What's wrong, dear? You look pale.
This is all so new to me. Like a wondrous fairy tale, too fantastic to be true. I feel like I shouldn't be here.
Nonsense, child. I'm delighted Moira brought you here, and that Reed Richards sent Shan. Why don't you tell us more about you, Shan?
My father was a colonel in the South Vietnamese army, my mother a teacher. They were both killed by Thai pirates during our escape. My younger brother and sister and I arrived in America a year ago and settled in New York. I'd secured employment and began to feel some semblance of order to our lives again. I had a twin brother as well with the same abilities as me. He died.
So your powers evolved on their own and you learned to harness them as you've gone along?
I had no alternative. It was necessity, the need to survive. Without my brother, a piece of me was missing. I had to adapt.
All things considered, I think both of you have done quite well.
Is there cause for rejoicing? Because we mastered these gifts from Satan?
Your powers have nothing whatsoever to do with Satan, Rain. They are things of nature, such as your hands, heart, or brain. They are talents, and all talents must be shaped and honed.
I feel sometimes that people are mere puppets to me. I don't want to be that way. Help me, Professor. Teach me what I must know.
I cannot.
Will not, you mean? Are you afraid, Charles?
I am tired, Moira, of gathering people and training them, only to send them to their deaths. There's too much blood on my hands. I won't have any more.
Deny these two, and you deny everything you've ever believed in. Aye, X-Men have died and been injured, but that will continue because they are heroes fighting for a cause. The team wasn't founded only to combat evil mutants. The dream, Charles, was to help mutants learn to live with their powers, to help society to accept them. Shan and Rain need guidance only you can provide. Can you refuse them?
I want to believe the X-Men are my family. Losing any of them is unbearable.
Hard as it may be to accept, the X-Men themselves are far less important than the dream which brought them together. To give up now would make their purpose and sacrifices meaningless.
You're a tough woman, Moira.
It's my dream too. As long as I'm able through sweat, tears and blood, I won't let it die.
All right, ladies. I'll do what I can. And let's pray we've made the right decision.
All this sounds wonderful, Professor, but I have a problem. I must care for my brother and sister. Between my job and your school, I shall have no time for them.
Easily solved. You can come work for me. I need someone to help me run the school. You're bright, well-educated, and multilingual. A perfect choice. Your salary and benefits will be more than adequate, and you'll be able to work and study at the same time.
Your offer is most kind. I'd be a fool to deny such generosity.
Unnoticed to the group, Moira had left the room, and now re-enters shuffling through the mail.
A letter, Charles, from Colorado. Special delivery.
Xavier opens it with a foreboding feeling that he doesn't need his abilities to detect.
It's from the father of an old army friend. His daughter, a Danielle Moonstar, is a mutant. He asks for my help urgently. His letter tells me he's frightened for her. Anyone up for a trip out west?
A day later along the Continental Divide, the Professor, Rana, and Shan are unaware that the girl they've traveled to see finds herself in a dire situation. 3 armored centurions patrol the wilderness on circular hovering platforms. The round discs hum as they search through the trees until they find their prey.
There he is. We'll deal with Xavier and his brat, but get the Indian girl first.
Moonstar hears the trio of hover discs closing in on her and recalls hearing that same sound the night her grandfather was murdered. It's what woke her. Now she finds herself at the receiving end and darts off into the foliage. Her legs carry her only so fast and far, but she knows she cannot outrun the inevitable. One of the armored men descends behind her, ready to deliver to her the same fate as her grandfather. But her best friend gives a moment of distraction. Seeing its human friend in danger, Ridge Runner leaps from the trees from an attack position. The Wildcat stands no chance as the armored gladiator swats it away with ease. The enhanced strength provided by the suit crushes the cat's skull before it even impacts with the rocks below.
Ridge Runner, no!
Her moment of sorrow turns to terror as the fiend grabs her arm and dangles her above the cliffside.
Not to worry, sweet thing. As soon as I gain a little more altitude, I'll send you on your way to join him.
Your day is done, villain. Your mind and body belong to Karma. Do not be afraid, girl. You're among friends now.
Before Moonstar has time to process what's occurring, her captor turns his vehicle toward his other 2 allies and opens fire.
What's happening? Has he gone mad? What's going?
Danielle, remove his helmet so that Professor Xavier can mentally interrogate him.
Moonstar rips the helmet from the man's head and tosses it into the ravine below. She's reached a boiling point.
Butcher! You killed my grandfather and my cat! Wherever your most private, fearsome nightmare is, may it shrivel your mind and body.
Danielle, no!
You stopped me? How? That's never happened to me before. Only Black Eagle and I knew that name. How did you learn it?
I was with your parents when they gave it to you. My name is Charles Xavier. Like you, I am a mutant. I have come to help you, as I promised your father and Black Eagle.
The hover chariot descends to ground as Danielle steps off, the stunned gladiator still in a possessed trance.
A lot of good your promise did, grandfather. I need nothing from you, white man. Leave my hills. Leave me alone!
To live alone and in terror of your own powers, which you have yet to fully comprehend. No. You have extraordinary gifts, but they can harm you as easily as others. Only through proper training will you have a chance at sanity and survival.
And you will provide this training?
Yes.
Why should I trust...
The young native stumbles. As her adrenaline diminishes, pain begins to take its place. Her arm is numb, and until now she hadn't realized it being dislocated since she'd been grabbed. Shan and Rana rush up the hill towards her.
Professor, she's hurt! Hold still, Danielle. This will not be pleasant.
Shan's life fighting to survive has taught her first aid, among many things. This isn't the first limb she's had to put back in its socket.
There, good as new. You should rest now.
I'm fine. It's shameful enough that I cried out. I can handle myself. And my name is Moonstar. I'm a Cheyenne. And you owe me an explanation, Professor. The killers knew you. Are they your enemies too?
The mentor joins his students atop the hill as he rolls to see the Indian girl face to face.
Evidently so. My telepathic probe indicates that they are a part of a network of assassins established by a man named Donald Pierce. Their ultimate goal is the extermination of mutant kind. We are not their only targets. There's a boy in Brazil and another in Kentucky. We won't get to both in time, so we'll have to split up.
Moonstar almost doesn't hear him as she withdraws her knife and makes a motion to stab the entranced villain.
If you've no more need for this butcher, let Black Eagle's war knife be buried in his craven heart.
Stop!
Release me, Xavier! I have a right to vengeance.
Let the police deal with them. If we act the way they would, then we are no better. Justice will be served.
No! Justice will be served if my grandfather was restored to life. And vengeance will be served once this man Pierce is made to pay for his crimes. To that end, and until that time, I'll work with you. You want these men? Fine, they're all yours. But Pierce, he's mine.
Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The next day. It's dusk in a slum district near the outskirts of town. Shan and Danielle quietly arrive at a warehouse where Cerebro indicated the boy would be. Inside, the scene is grim, as Roberto is backhanded across the face by a masked man and falls to the floor next to the girl he loves.
Speak English, punk.
I fulfilled my part of the bargain. Now fulfill yours. Release Juliana.
You're in no position to make demands. We'll do with you and your girlfriend whatever we please.
Barto, you're bleeding.
I've taken far harder falls in football, Jule. Be brave. I'll get you home safe and sound, I swear it.
Isn't that cute?
How much of a ransom will you demand for us?
Oh, we're not in this for the money, kiddo. We're in it for blood. Yours, to be precise.
Get behind me, Jule.
Two more masked men approach the teenagers as Roberto channels his rage. His features begin to darken to an abysmal blackness as energy surges through his body.
What the hell? Who does this kid think he is? Kill him, boys.
If anyone dies today, it'll be you.
Roberto slams his fists down, causing the floor to crumble and the man before him to be hurled backwards. In one fluid motion, as if he were on the football field, he twists and hammers his knuckles into the second man, driving him backwards. The trio is barely wavered as they continue to approach him, but the boy does not give up. The first masked man lands a solid punch to Roberto's jaw.
Not bad, kid. You flattened any ordinary man with those moves. Too bad we aren't normal. We used to be until a mutie named Wolverine cut us to shreds and left us for dead. Now we're part man, part machine. And the bionic limbs we've been given can do more than make up for our past failures to eradicate your kind.
Roberto feigns against a wooden crate, only to grab hold of it and toss it into the man's face.
I've done nothing to you. I don't even know you.
You exist. That's all it takes.
You're all madmen.
Dodging the next attack, the boy attempts to prove his worth, but his blood sugar drops and weakness suddenly kicks in, returning him to normal. The leader of the trio unholsters his gun and yanks the teen to his feet.
Roberto, do not be afraid. We are here to get you out. I'll explain later. Just do as I say.
Confused, the captive looks on as the captor turns and opens fire on his own. The first shot goes wide as the other men's bionics enable them to react. From the window looking in, the cause of this turn voices her concern.
This man's body isn't like others. I don't know if I can control it properly.
Then allow me to help.
Moonstar focuses her mind on not one, but all three of the masked men. Each of their nightmares come to life in their minds as their surroundings fade and are replaced by their darkest fears. The man who'd been shot at closes his eyes as an abnormally tall figure with elongated fingers looms over him. He backs into the wall, shielding himself from its approach. He's too terrified to fight, and yet can't resist seeing its face. Pale, white, and featureless, save for an impossibly large mouth with a sinister grin. The second man sees nothing at all, except collapses to his knees. He's unable to scream from the belief that his tongue, arms, and legs have been amputated. The final of the trio sees an all too familiar enemy as Wolverine unsheathes his claws and readies to attack. And though his fear is as grand as the others, the fear wavers for a split second as Moonstar struggles to affect all three. It's long enough for the man to see past the dream and pull the trigger on his weapon.
Roberto!
The room falls silent as the two mutant women subdue two of the villains, then turn to see Juliana dive in front of the bullet intended for the boy she loves. Danielle wastes no time refocusing all of her attention on the murderer. His terror becomes unbearable as the image of Wolverine appears to distort and grow into that of a large demonic bear. Wolverine's claws are still present as the massive beast looms over its prey. The man can no longer focus his reality as his fear becomes too real, causing him to faint and collapse in a pool of his own urine.
You can do that to people?
Never like that. I focus too hard. To him, that dream is something he will never forget, if he can ever remember anything again.
He deserved it. He killed Juliana. No. This is my fault. She's dead because of me. My arrogance. My stupidity. I thought with my powers I could save her. Then no one would see Roberto da Costa as a monster. They'd see me as a hero. Everything would be as it once was.
You mustn't blame yourself. It's not your fault.
Whose then? She lost her life because of me. A mutant. A freak!
We are freaks too. But there is a man in America who can help you. Help all of us in dealing with our powers so that we may lead some semblance of normal lives.
I care nothing for teachers. I want the person responsible for this. The one who sent these men to destroy me. No matter what the cost. However long it takes. I will find him and I will make him pay.
We want him too. What say we join forces?
A few minutes prior to that moment, the Professor and Rana are traveling down City Route 3 in Kentucky. The trek is mostly silent, save for each of their individual thoughts, when suddenly their Jeep is hit by an explosive force. The vehicle topples sideways, and it's Charles who realizes that was no man-made weapon.
Rain! Get away! Now!
Obeying his mental command, she shifts to lupine form and leaps up the hill. Shaking herself free of her clothes, her dark fur is virtually invisible in the shadows. She remembers Xavier's useless legs and turns to pull him from the wreckage, but Sam Guthrie has beaten her to it. Her instincts tell her he's the one who caused this incident, and for a moment she considers ripping out his throat, but she doesn't know how.
I guess I hit the target a little harder than expected. Ah, shit, he's unconscious. Don't worry, sir, I'll get you out of this mess.
Sam drags the professor to a clearing where a helicopter touches down and two masked men exit.
Nice work, Cannonball. Let's load Baldy into the chopper. Mr. Pierce is really looking forward to meeting him.
I could have swore I saw a girl in the Jeep with him, but there's no one else in the wreck. She might have been thrown clear. I'd like to go back and look for her.
Not a chance.
This is rough country. She could have been hurt. She could die out there.
If she existed, the only human life forms registering on our monitors are us and the good professor here.
Why did you send me to attack them?
Pierce's orders.
What's he want with them?
None of your business, boy. You got a steady job and a heck of a salary. You do as you're told, period. Understand?
Yes, sir.
In a matter of minutes, the copter is airborne, heading west across the forest. All alone, lost, frightened, and homesick, Rana lifts her muzzle and howls to the unhearing, uncaring stars. Nose to the air, she then discovers a familiar scent lingering. It's Xavier's, and although faint, she can still follow it. Hours pass, as do the miles beneath her feet, until arriving at a large complex, complete with high security. She circles the setting, then makes a decision. Her body changes shape from wolf to hybrid human, enabling her to do what a human or canine cannot on their own. Upright, she propels her powerful legs upward, clearing the barbed wire fence with ease. Upon landing on the other side, she shifts back to wolf form, making the patrol dogs think twice about attacking her. Leaping atop a nearby generator, and then again onto the largest building's roof, Rana changes to her hybrid form once again and peers down through the skylight to where her senses have led her.
Glory be! I wonder what Mr. Craig would say now if he could see me. Something cruel, no doubt. I can't blame him. Look at me. Half girl, half beast. What right do I have to call myself a human being? Yeah, if not for my purse, I'd not be able to find the professor. Oh, what are those Spallion doing to him? The glass may be thick, but I may be able to hear them if I concentrate.
In the room below, Xavier is strapped to a high-tech chair, his arms and feet bound by metal clamps. A device has been lowered onto his head. Next to him, in a similar position, is Tessa. The prisoners are accompanied by 2 of the Hellfire guards, and Pierce himself.
So, Professor, we meet at last. I am Donald Pierce, soon to be leader of the Hellfire Club. That esoteric device strapped to you is a mind trap designed by me to inhibit the use of your psi abilities and absorb all the information you have stored in that precious mind of yours. You may resist, or you'd like. I hope you do. But in the end, your psychic defenses will be breached. The harder you fight it, the more your brain will suffer in the process. The damage, I might add, will be permanent. And don't fret, my dear Tessa. After Xavier, it'll be your turn.
Rana retreats from the window in dismay.
Oh, what am I to do? I can't burst in your room and try free them by myself. I'd lose. But I also can't stand by and let the professor be murdered before my eyes.
Rain.
Who said that?
It's Moonstar. My ability to communicate with certain animals allows a telepathic link with you in your current form. Shan, Roberto, and I are over here in the tree line to your right.
Rana scans the darkness. Any normal human would see only shadows, but her enhanced vision easily spots out the 3 waving at her.
Oh, thank goodness. Hurry, all of you. Professor Xavier's in terrible danger. If we didn't act now, it'll be too late.
Soaring overhead, Sam Guthrie patrols the grounds and spots the figure on the roof.
You, on the roof! Freeze! Wait, what the...
The young man is caught off guard as he closes in on the intruder. Upon seeing the Lady Wolf, he is just as much startled as she is, and both tumble from the peak. As Sam crashes into the dirt, Rana twists and lands on all 4s, resuming her full wolf persona. They both turn and lock eyes.
Oh, that's the girl I saw in the Jeep. I heard her speak, but now she's a wolf? I know I'm partially invulnerable when I use my powers, but will that protect me from her teeth if she attacks?
He never finds out, as Moonstar reaches out to him and confronts him with his greatest fear. He's back in the mine, as if a day had not passed. This time, he's alone, as it collapses down around him. Sam cries out, but his scream is unheard by the deafening explosion of his legs, hurling him skyward and out of Danielle's range. Regrettably, his departure does not go unnoticed, as a handful of guards exit the building, armed and ready. Not too ready, however, as Rana instantly leaps onto the closest man and clamps down hard with her jaws on his shoulder.
Get it off me! It's trying to bite through my armor!
She's the least of your problems, butchers!
The darkness of night moves on its own, as the blackened visage of Roberto slams his fists into a wall, causing it to shatter, sending concrete rubble raining down onto the rest of the armed men. Some are knocked unconscious, others stunned. Roberto remains enraged.
We are not killers, Roberto.
Speak for yourself, Shan. I'll play by your rules until we find Pierce. After that, I'll make no guarantees. Rain, lead us to Xavier.
Sorry, folks, but Mr. Pierce is my boss. If you want him, you'll have to go through me.
Sam streaks down from the sky as Roberto leaps out of his path and sees the cannonball slam into the ground, scattering the few conscious Hellfire guards.
That can be arranged!
Sam shakes his head to clear the stun of the impact.
This makes no sense. With those powers, he must be a mutant. Pierce hates mutants. Why would he employ one? And the other guards look and act like professional soldiers. Yet he's still a boy. I can't concentrate enough to possess him, and the guards are starting to come around.
The Vietnamese woman takes an alternate approach by arming herself with an assault rifle dropped by one of the men. She thinks about when her papa taught her how to shoot and opens fire. Her aim is carefully placed to scatter the enemies rather than harm them.
Danny, Rain, Berto, into the building! We have to get to Professor before these assholes regroup!
Roberto wastes no time rushing inside and ripping machinery from the walls as if they were no more than paper.
Whenever I felt helpless because I was smaller than the other kids, I always wished for power. Now I have it, and I'd give it up in an instant if it brought Jewel back to life.
Your brats are more formidable than I expected, Xavier, but they're too late to save you.
Pierce withdraws a pistol and presses the barrel to the professor's forehead. But before he can pull the trigger, a streak of brown fur crashes through the window and clamps down on his forearm.
Rain!
The young Scot steels herself against the taste of flesh and blood, praying it won't make her sick and that she won't enjoy it. To her surprise, her powerful maw is met with not human tissue, but the grinds of gears, cables, and circuits. It is a moment that enables Pierce to thrust his boot into her torso, catapulting her across the room. Rana knows her ribs have been broken, yet she doesn't surrender. Shifting to hybrid form, she manages to crash to the floor near her mentor. From above, Moonstar dangles through the skylight and focuses her rage.
For Rain! For my grandfather! For all your victims! May my spirit forms bring you unending torment.
As the native lands behind Pierce, he grins at her feeble attempts, slaps her to the ground, and laughs at her confused expression.
An admirable attempt, my dear, but doomed from the start. Like my men, I too am bionic. My enhancements also have the added defense against all forms of psionic assault.
Oh, Professor! The pain! Oh.
Rain, listen to me carefully. Move to the console behind me.
I'll try, but... Oh, so weak.
As Rana struggles to move, the dark figure bursts through the wall. Pierce is mesmerized for a moment by the dark spots surrounding the featureless being. It's a darkness so eternally void of light that it is almost as blinding upon first sight as it would be to glance at the sun.
Murderer! I want you to know the name of the one who will take your life. I am Roberto da Costa, and you...
The teen's speech is silenced by two fists driving into his back. His body slams into a console on the far wall. The disorientation causes his powers to fade, leaving him vulnerable.
This one's mine, sir.
Cannonball!
I was sure that hit would take him down. Where? He's just a kid.
Roberto flinches, prepared for a death blow that never comes. Upon realization of his target's age, Sam loses control and veers into another wall.
Serves you right for striking me from behind.
Professor, I can't... It's so hard to breathe. I have the strength.
Throw that switch, Rain! It's our only chance!
Rana reaches with all her might, biting back her tears and anguish, as karma has caught up with Pierce, in the literal sense.
It's a shame I spent all the bullets, because there was one just for you, villain.
I can feel you attempting to control me. You may be the most dangerous weapon here, but you're still no threat. The girls are stunned, Guthrie. After you're finished with the boy, get rid of them.
I don't understand, but what do you want me to do? Toss them off the property? Turn them over to the sheriff?
You moron! I want them killed!
What? No, sir!
Fine by me, mutant. You can share their fate.
In the time that it takes Pierce to retrieve his gun, Sam tries to trigger the thermic reaction that will send him rocketing toward Pierce. He prays that his invulnerability will protect him from the gunshots, but, to his dismay, nothing happens.
Poor boy. Your power has a limit and you've surpassed it. How sad. Why can't I pull the trigger? Xavier, how? Impossible! Your psi talent
is no longer inhibited by your device. You've proven your skill against children. Let's see how you fare against an adult.
Their duel is silent, and neither man makes a move, yet on their faces is etched the brutal ferocity of their struggle. One man's brain and strength of will is pitted against a man-machine's bionic construct. For a time, the outcome is in doubt. Then, Pierce lowers his weapon and stares vacantly at nothing in particular. His mind is in a state of temporary paralysis.
What did you do?
Something I rarely resort to, Samuel Guthrie. I am a telepath. I used my abilities to seize control of his consciousness. The process is as distasteful to me as it is to you, Shan, and considerably more difficult. Pierce, release Miss Tessa.
The villain says nothing, but follows the command to free the woman. Danielle grabs a tarp from a nearby workstation and drapes it over the unconscious naked body of Rana.
She's barely breathing, and her pulse is so faint I can hardly feel it. We need to get her to a hospital.
Thank you, Shan. The strain was beginning to wear on me. I saw in your thoughts that Moira is nearby with my chair. I sent her a mind call. She should arrive shortly.
Rain could be dead by then.
No, I am psionically monitoring her condition. Her injuries are serious, but if there are no delays, she should recover. The question is, what to do with Pierce? We can't take him with us, and if Shan relaxes and he breaks free, he could kill us all before we realize what is happening. Still yet, we dare not leave him behind, or wait for the authorities to arrive.
I have a solution, Charles. Leave him to me. The Hellfire Club takes care of its own. Pierce has proven as great a threat to us as he has to you. I think you can safely assume you've heard the last of him.
Charles doesn't trust Tessa or the Hellfire Club, but Rana's life hangs in the balance. His primary duty is to her, and thus nods his approval.
Pardon me, sir, but what should I do?
Your boss went that way with the lady. Why don't you go join them?
Sam can only lower his head, knowing that he is alone. Xavier's mansion 2 weeks later. Shan sits on the edge of her bed, pulling on her new boots. A sort of unexpected satisfaction causes her to smile.
This isn't exactly what I had in mind when I first came to the professor. But thanks to him, Leong and Nga will be provided for no matter what happens to me. If through his teaching, my powers can be a benefit to humanity, then things will indeed turn out for the best.
A room over from hers, Roberto confidently checks his new threads out in the mirror.
Not the most stylish of uniforms, but not bad. I wish Juliana could see me in it. Perhaps she can from heaven. When Pierce was beaten, I could have killed him. Had I done that, I'd become just like him. That's something I will never be.
Across the hall, Danielle stands naked, hesitating to don the new clothes.
I chose to help save Rain. rather than avenge you, grandfather. I chose life after death as you've taught me. I do not know if I will be happy here. I already miss my mountains, but for your sake, in your memory, I will try.
And finally, the remaining student shifts her form from human to wolf to hybrid and back again, as if her injuries were all but fully healed.
What sort of claws are these that enable me to alter my form and reappear when I need them? Aye, a bit daring too. I wonder what Mr. Craig would think now. Oh, he'd surely not allow such refinery.
Attention, students. It is time. Report to me at once. Class is now in session.
Minutes later, the 4 students arrive in his study. All are dressed in their given garb. A black and yellow uniform, accompanied by a red belt with an oversized letter X on the buckle. All of them, except one, that is. That one has decided to make it her own by replacing the belt and boots with traditional Native American attire.
Danielle, you're out of uniform. Please explain yourself.
I am Cheyenne. Nothing and no one will make me forget or abandon my heritage. I am also an individual, Professor. You say we must wear these clothes. I will do as you ask, but in my own manner. If that bothers you, I can leave.
That won't be necessary. I see our relationship is becoming as fascinating as I anticipated. There was a time I'd have forced my students to conform to the dress code. But I would have been wrong. These are individuals that must be respected. Their spirits should be shaped, not broken. Rain, could you answer the door?
She moves with almost a leap in her step, but that happiness turns to clenched fists as she greets the visitor. Standing before her is Sam Guthrie, dressed in suit and tie, as if he were showing up for a job interview.
You!
Anyone can make a mistake, Rain. Sam is here by my invitation. He is not a bad person. He was just duped by a master manipulator.
How can you be so certain?
Instinct. Trust. Sam gave his word.
Tsk. What does someone who strikes from behind know of honor?
Not much, I guess, but I'm willing to learn, and for what it's worth, I'm sorry.
Sam offers his hand in treaty. Roberto turns his back and folds his arms across his chest in protest.
Berto, come on. I nearly died in that scrap and I say he deserves a second chance.
Fine. If they'll have you, then who am I to argue? Welcome aboard, but I think you might need some better clothes than that.
Sam looks at the uniforms of the 4 with an expression that betrays his approval of them. It's the same reaction each of them had when they first saw it. And they share a laugh as a new team Xavier's students.
One more thing. If we are to work together, you'll need names to protect your identities. Shan has already mentioned that she likes the name Karma. Is that still the case?
Yes. Karma will do you right if you treat others right, and wrong if you do the same. I've always taken that approach to things.
I like the nickname Pierce gave me. He might be a lunatic, but Cannonball is an on-point code name for me.
I think Sunspot is a pretty badass name for me.
I'll just stick with Moonstar for now. It's my native moniker.
All are very fine names. And you, Rain?
How about She-Wolf?
Sounds like a movie I once saw.
I'm all out of other ideas.
There's a flower that grows in the mountains where I live. It has a beautiful purple bloom, but it's extremely deadly if ingested. We call it wolfsbane. And though I mean no offense, I believe it is fitting.
A moment of silence fills the room as they all turn and look.
Beautiful and deadly? Wolfsbane. Oh, I could get used to that. And a compliment.